Newly elected DAs in some of America's biggest cities, many backed by George Soros, have made it clear what they really care about: emptying prisons and shackling law enforcement. And there's no downside for them on either count. They can shield themselves with taxpayer-funded bodyguards. But normal people aren't so lucky. U.S. cities are being plagued by a surge, for example, of mob-based crime. Big crowds of people who work together to loot stores or target vulnerable individuals. Here in Washington, attacks like this are up 50% over the past year. A local television station recently chronicled the problem. Watch this.
He hit me 3 or 4 times on the side of my head, broke open my lip, so I was bleeding quite a lot.
I was trying to fend off like one guy. He knocked me on the ground and then he took my wallet.
These are the stories of victims of largely random attacks on the streets of the district. The one thing in common, the suspects were large groups of teens. Video shows teens throwing a man onto metro tracks back in September. And take a look at this video. Up to 14 teens stomping and punching, even spitting on 2 men outside a DuPont Circle hotel in July.
Chadwick Moore is a New York journalist. He joins us now. How did this ever happen, Chadwick? I'm confused.
Well, I think it might have to do with this progressive insurgency that's infected our nation's largest cities. And make no mistake, this is not, this is very planned. You know, we see in the same problem spreading from our once great cities, which are increasingly becoming more third world and dystopian, flowing from one city to the next. So you see the same problems, the same violence, the same crime, the same homelessness, addiction, spreading from New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and you can trace it back to essentially what's being established is this sort of progressive a collection of city-states that instead of their leaders, their mayors, or their municipal leaders caring about the places they've been elected to manage, they're looking outward. They're ideologues. Yes. They're not city managers. They care about climate change and social justice, and their ambitions are global. They're not even national or local. They're not the 21st century CEOs that our dying cities desperately need. They behave more like smarmy televangelists and aloof 17th century monarchs. And look what's happening. Our cities are falling into chaos because they don't know how to manage these places. And criminal justice is only one area. And you were right to bring up police, law enforcement being castrated effectively.
Yes.
Mayors who don't support them, and freeing criminals on the street. And basically, you know, if you look at Seattle, 48% of police reports aren't even investigated in Seattle. And that's not because that's not the police force's fault. That's the fault of the people higher up in the police force who no longer to process civility crimes. They no longer to process crimes that they think might be deemed looking racist or persecuting a certain bunch.
It's a very deep point you make. They're not managing at all. They're
absolutely
making
not.
Airy statements to the globe, and even as their own cities degrade, as ours is, unfortunately. Chadwick Moore, thanks for that. Great to see you tonight.
Thank you. You too.